Hey, this is Karen with Coach's Corner Chats, and joining me is Kirk Emrine. Kirk, where are you at and what are you up to?
I'm at Pryor High School currently. It's in Pryor, Oklahoma. I coach the women's team here. This is my 14th year coaching the girls. My first 6 years I coached both the boys team and the girls team. And Pryor is roughly about 45 minutes northeast of Tulsa.
What's the experience like when you're coaching both the boys and the girls?
Oh man, it's an experience. That's a great question. So when I first started here, we have a our last hour of the day is for athletics, and so the kids actually go to their practices the seventh hour of their schedule. And when I first started, the boys we practiced seventh hour starting roughly about 3 o'clock. And I'd never done boys and girls. And I ran the boys training session for about an hour and a half. And then I had the girls come in at about 4:30 till about 6. And so we kind of went back to back there. After, after a year of running like 3.5 hours of training or so, I decided to train them both at the same time. And so I had a really good assistant coach when I started here. Thor Campbell was his name. He was a really good assistant that I had for 3 years. And so we could kind of divvy up and go separate ways during training. He could maybe be with the boys, I would be with the girls for a little bit, or vice versa. But it was interesting, I think, for the girls, because there was times we came together and trained together, maybe played 5v5 or 7v7 together. And it definitely pushed the girls a little bit. I don't know how much it pushed the boys, but it was interesting. It was busy, to say the least. I think for me, the hardest part of it was game nights, because the girls would play first and then the boys would play second, and they both rode the same bus to away games. So the girls, we've kind of had a history of success here at Pryor, even before I got here, as the girls team being pretty solid. And the boys, let's just say not so much the success. And so the girls might win their game, and I would be super excited and turn around and coach the boys team for the boys game. And then the boys might lose their game. And so how do you manage those emotions on the way home? It's like, I'm happy because the girls won, but now I'm upset because the boys lost, or that kind of deal. So it was interesting. For me, 6 years was plenty. And I was actually able to talk my assistant, who had left and coached at another high school. I'd actually talked him into coming back and taking the boys, and so I could just be with the girls. And so for this would be the 8th year now that I've just had the girls. So
You mentioned just not only just the results, but what was it like in terms of how you dealt with the teams? Like when with the girls, how did you coach them maybe a little bit different than how you were coaching the boys in terms of maybe mannerisms and how you could talk to them and what have you?
yeah, so that's another good question. I listened to somebody on your show not too long ago, and he was kind of mentioning the similar things about coaching boys versus coaching girls. Boys are very much rah rah rah, let's go, beat your chest, and let's get after it. And girls had to handle a little bit differently, maybe a little more softly than I did the boys. I don't know if that's the greatest word, but just a little more careful. I raised two daughters, and both those daughters played for me here at this high school. The oldest one graduated in 2015, and the youngest graduated in 2020. So my oldest went through it when I was coaching both teams. And so she's now my high school assistant coach as well, but she's made the comment several times, Dad, you are way harder on us than you are on the girls now. And so I think I've softened up over the years. But the boys are, I guess the best way to answer that question would be The boys are just very straightforward. Here's what we need to do. Go do it. And I guess for me, the girls, I have to kind of paint a more clearer picture for them, I guess, so that they kind of understand, because they definitely, they ask more questions. The boys are like, yeah, let's go do it. Hey, we're going to run through that wall. Okay, let's go run through the wall. The girls are like, why are we going through the wall? Why don't we just go around it, coach? That kind of stuff. So, very challenging, but yeah, I think just the different dynamics between the females and the males there. So
You mentioned coaching high school and then coaching your daughters. What was it like being dad and coach on the sidelines? How do you keep those two separated?
oh man, that's hard. So anybody that has kids knows that your kids are different. My oldest, and I feel like I did a pretty good job of prepping my girls, of saying, listen, I cannot cut you any breaks. You have to do twice as much as everybody else, because even when you do twice as much as everybody else, there's still somebody out there saying the only reason that kid's playing is because their dad's the coach. And so I tried to prep them for that very often, car rides, being at home, things like that, maybe just us training in the yard or something like that. My oldest handled it pretty well. My youngest, not as well. I remember a conversation she had with me one time where she just said, Dad, I just want to be another player on the team. And I said, yeah, that's hard. That's, there's just a different dynamic. And so I loved it. I wouldn't trade it for the world, coaching both of them. It was a great experience being able to share their high school careers with them. I tell them all the time, you guys both did something that I never did, which is play high school soccer. And so it was a very cool experience just getting to be around them. My wife sometimes gives me a hard time because she says, you get to see the girls every day. And of course, Taylor's 25 and she's moved out with her husband, and Maggie's still at home with us. But she said, you get to be around them every day. You get to coach with them, that kind of deal. And so I loved it. It was a great experience seeing them through their senior nights. And Maggie's was a little bit harder, my youngest, because that was the COVID season that got canceled. So that was rough. That spring of 2020 was rough. But I think for the most part, they understand now. They're both. So my oldest is my high school assistant, and my youngest is my middle school assistant. And so they're so great to have on the staff with me, because they both know exactly where I'm coming from. They can maybe mediate with the girls a little bit better. They're like, this is what he's talking about, or this is what he's expecting. And so it's been a great experience. When I first started, I did not want to coach my kids, because I didn't want that dynamic of, dad and coach in the same household or the same car ride, because, I preach quite a bit to parents about, just be mom and dad. Don't try to give them the tactics or the what they did wrong in the car ride on the way home. Just be mom or dad. And when you're the coach and dad, you're in the car and you're like, man, I want to tell them stuff, but I need to take my own advice there sometimes. So it was a very cool experience. I enjoyed it.
You mentioned it was cool to have your daughters do something, which was high school soccer, and you didn't get to experience it. How did Kirk end up getting into soccer? Like, when did the soccer bug bite you?
Well, so we moved when I was little. We moved from California when I was 7, and we moved to Salem, Oregon. And that was about 1977, 78 in there. And the Cosmos were huge then. And so in Salem, when I was 8, my dad started my brother and I in a just a league there in Salem, Oregon. And we started playing, and my dad loved the Cosmos. And I can remember, calling our team the Cosmos and stuff like that. And I just loved it. My brother and I played it in the yard all the time. That's just kind of all we wanted to do. We moved. After 3 years, we moved to Denver, and I played 1 year of Little League baseball there, and I didn't really enjoyed that very much. And then we ended up in Wichita, Kansas when we were about 10 or 11 and started playing there and just continued playing in leagues. In Wichita, there was a professional team, the Wichita Wings indoor, and in like 1981, I think it was. And we went to their games every weekend. And I mean, there was guys on the team that had come over from the Premier Leagues that were playing indoors back then. And I mean, we just loved it. There was indoor facilities in Wichita. We imitated them. If we ever got to meet them, because they also practiced at that facility. So if we ever got to meet them, how huge a deal that would be. So we just loved it. My dad reffed quite a bit when we were growing up. He got us into refereeing. I just wanted to be around the game. I wanted to watch as much as I could. I wanted to play. My brother and I were a year apart. So you imagine the battles in the backyard when you have brothers just going at each other. But I can remember just going out in the yard and juggling a ball for hours, just wanting to touch the ball. And I never really had a desire to do much else. I mean, in high school, I played football and basketball. Soccer was my thing growing up. And, the dream for me was be a professional. And, at some point you have to realize your dream may not come true. But, I just loved everything about it. Got to high school and things changed a little bit for me as far as soccer went and sports in high school. But that was back when you could cut players as well. And so we don't have enough at Pryor to cut kids, but got cut my freshman and sophomore year of high school trying out. Didn't make the team either year, and my brother made the team both years. Well, he played all 4 years of high school, but didn't make the team either year. And so I was kind of heartbroken from that, but continued playing indoor. Indoor was kind of the love for me, and got a shot. I actually went to college to play college football, and because I never played high school, and I wasn't really much on the traveling club teams for as far as outdoor goes. But I played football in college for 2 years, and then finally I just said, this is not my love. Soccer's my love. I was gonna transfer to Wichita State University and just play for their club team. And a couple of buddies of mine that I'd grown up playing with were playing at the university, at Friends University, where I went to school. And I actually was recruited by the coach on a Sunday night league game, and because he knew I was leaving, and he said, "Hey, we want you to play for us at Friends." And so I ended up being able to play 3 years of college soccer there, and then had the opportunity to go to a public tryout for the Wichita Wings, the team that we'd grown up watching. And through their training camp, got some valuable experience in their training camp. Was able to play some semi-pro for a team in Wichita, and then a buddy that had played for the Wings that I knew ended up going to Oklahoma City with him and trying out for a team, and was able to play 2 years professionally there, 96 and 97 for the old USL, not like it is now, but for a team in Oklahoma City. And so from there, I mean, just love the game, love being around the game, love learning about the game, love listening to people talk about the game. Anything I can do to help me be a better coach or mentor to the kids. So I know it's a long answer, sorry, but it definitely is a passion. When you get the bug, and you just want to keep that passion alive, I guess. So.
You mentioned how your dad took you to games and got you into reffing and was kind of around. What has it been for him to watch you become a coach and continue to, like you said, impact youth, and now to see like his granddaughters also now coaching? How cool has it been kind of him going along the coaching journey that you're on right now?
Well, yeah, very cool. He came to a lot of games, especially when I coached in Kansas, where they live. I coached boys there for 11 years, and they were able to come to a lot of games there. He saw his oldest daughter play some high school games. He passed away in 2014, but he was able to see her play a few games and of course watch me coach, because I've been doing this since 93, I guess, was when I first got my job coaching. But it was very cool to have him there. Now he would sometimes be the typical parent that would still holler things that like, dad, don't, just watch the game and enjoy the game. Don't get stressed out about it. But it was cool. For him getting us started when we were 8, 9 years old, and then being able to see us play at a high level. My brother played in college, and then being able to watch me coach as well. Very cool. But he saw the youngest daughter. He never saw her play high school, but he did see her play in youth games growing up for club teams. So I'm sure he was super proud of all of that.
What has that dynamic been for you, having like your oldest now as an assistant and the other one at the middle school? What has that been kind of, did you see them as you were coaching them? Did you ever think, you know what, you two might be really good coaches one day?
Yeah, that's funny you asked that. I never really thought that. I never, seeing them, they both, I wasn't gifted with speed and things like that. I had to use my brains to succeed at soccer. And they were very similar to that. I apologize to them all the time. Like, sorry, you didn't get very fast genes, and that kind of stuff. But so they did have to, be very technical. They did have to kind of understand the mental side of the game better than other kids, to be where you need to be before the ball gets there, because you probably aren't going to outrun that kid. And some kids can get away with that. They can be a step late or misread a play, but they're fast enough to catch up. And my girls weren't. And so I never really saw them as possible coaches one day. But with high school soccer, it's I don't know where everybody else is, but here, being 45 minutes east of Tulsa, it's not like what you would consider a soccer hotbed. I mean, we're not in Kansas City, or we're not in Texas or Dallas or Chicago or something like that. But and so it's hard to find some really good assistant coaches that are going to stay around. And so when the boys, when my assistant came back and coached the boys, we kind of just helped each other. I helped him with the boys, he helped me with the girls, and then we decided to just try to build our own staffs. And so I asked, I actually had a different girl for a year or two. And then when my daughter graduated college, she went to Oklahoma Christian to play. And when she graduated in 2018, I said, hey, do you have any interest in trying to help coach? Because I can use somebody that I can rely on, that type of deal. And she thought about it for a little bit, and she thought, that would be pretty cool. And so she jumped at the chance to come. I don't think she ever planned on coaching either. But it's been awesome. I mean, the girls, we have a great group of girls, and they say things to her that they would never come say to me. And so she can relate that type of information to me. So it's been very cool to have that dynamic. And then my youngest, she's the same way with the middle school. Now she had started coaching at the club here in Pryor, Mays County Soccer Club. She runs the Little Kicks program. So she has the 3, 4, 5-year-olds, and she loves it. I don't think she would tell you that patience is one of her strong points, but she's so patient with those little kids, and they love her. Coach Maggie. I go watch games on the weekend, or I go watch her do practices, and man, they're just like, Coach Maggie, watch me. Or they see her at one of our middle school games and they're hollering at her. And so 2 years ago, I thought, man, let me just see if Maggie wants to try this, So I said, hey, hon, do you want to just help me with the middle school girls? And she was like, yeah, that would be kind of cool. And so I think they both, while they're coaching soccer, I think they looked at it more of a chance to be a role model for the girls on the teams. And that, I think, was probably a bigger deal for them than actually probably coaching soccer. So they've both been wonderful. I couldn't have asked for better assistants than the two of them, and how they interact with the girls. And and just the freedom that the girls have with them, and to talk to them about things, that they would never come talk to a male coach about. So it's been great. It's been great.
You mentioned being there for now 14 years within the mix of coaching at Pryor. What keeps that fire burning to continue to keep putting the time and the effort into Pryor?
Man, I think for me, it's just that competitive spirit. I think it was Mary Whistler that talked about, getting players that have chips on their shoulders. And I feel like I've always had that as a player. I feel like I've always had that as a coach. Like, we're always out to prove to everybody else that we belong, that we're a worthy opponent, or something like that. And so I think for me, as coaching goes, it's the same way. It's how can I get my team to another level? Pryor has won a state title. They won the state championship in 1997. 2 years ago, we were in the semifinals of state here in the 5A class. It's, how can we be consistent with what we do? How can we get to the next level? And ultimately, for me, my fire comes from developing these players that want to go to the next level, to be able to move to the next level. The last 3 years, I was able to be a volunteer assistant for Rogers State University, which is about 20 minutes from here in Claremore, NCAA D2 school. And I had never really been an assistant coach. I started in 1993. I was listed as the assistant coach, but the guy that was coaching the boys team was a tennis coach that was just kind of covering so they could have the team. And he said, "Kirk, you know more about soccer than me. You coach them. I'll just be the head coach in name only." I said, "Okay." I mean, I was right out of college. I mean, I was okay, let's go. And so I started doing that. So I'd never really been an assistant soccer coach. In the last 3 years, being able to do that at Rogers and learn from two coaches there, show me where I needed to improve, show me how I could be a better coach for my girls here. And then I guess just the fact that, man, year after year, I just have a great group of girls, and they're fun to be around. They're when the stresses of teaching get to me and I can come here and coach and get away from it, and I've told many players that I'm like, the soccer field should be your escape, get away from some of the issues maybe that you face. And I think for me, that's what coaching does. I mean, playing did it for me, but we all run out of playing time eventually. And so now it's that coaching piece. It's like, man, that's kind of an escape from some things, I guess, that we deal with in our daily life. So, and I just love to compete. I love to compete in everything. I mean, I don't care what it is. I mean, my wife will tell you, it's like, I mean, I got to be the best at everything that I do. And so just keeping that competition alive keeps me going. So
What's in terms of the dynamic of teaching and coaching, how are they similar? Do they help one another? Did you find that being a teacher has helped? Are you teaching at Pryor, I'm assuming, or maybe so how does that help what's going on the pitch?
Yeah, so I teach at Pryor Middle School. I teach 6th, 7th, and 8th grade boys. It's a PE class, and I teach them, and they're definitely anybody who teaches middle school, this. Sometimes they're not from the same planet as everybody else, but it's a constant trying to get them to realize what they can accomplish if they really put their mind to it and just take a little bit of advice from some people. I can't make them do anything, but I've been a teacher. This is my 30th year in education, so I've been a teacher for 24 of those years. I was an assistant principal to elementary for 6 of those years, and so very much like coaching, you're trying to get a group of people. Which there's individuals in there, but you're trying to get a group of people to realize what they can do, and what they can be. So I think for me, plus I'm in athletics, I'm in PE. So I'm in athletics the whole day. And so a lot of the things that I might talk to the girls on the soccer team about, I probably mention to the boys as well. Or sometimes, sometimes I'll run some scenarios by the girls on the team. I'm like, hey, this middle school boy today was doing this. What do you guys think? And they sometimes come up with great answers for me. And so the next day I go back and kind of visit with the boys about that. But I mean, I think for me, they complement each other very well. So I don't know if that's the way it is for everybody, but
The one thing you mentioned is, so you're coaching, your daughters are coaching. How does your wife work into this whole equation? What how because you're talking about you get to see the girls all the time because they're coaching and they're
yeah.
on the sidelines with you. How important has she been in your multiple years of coaching that you've had on your journey?
Oh man, you know this, being a coach, and most coaches know this with their significant other. They see the good and the bad. You come home from a rough night, or you know, situations that go on within the team. You know, just things you deal with as a coach. I mean, she sees that. She's a sounding board for that. Um, she sees the good times as well, and very supportive of both. She's been a great mom to the girls as they were growing up and playing. She's very understanding that, I'm gone, pretty much in the spring, almost 5 nights a week, late nights, and is very understanding there, very supportive there. She runs her own business from pretty much our home. I mean, she has a shop building that's about 100 yards away, but and so she can kind of make time when she needs to come support the girls or come to the game and watch me or things like that. There's not really anybody that's setting her schedule, I guess, so to speak. But she's been great. She's allowed me to do the stuff that I've wanted to do. When I was playing, I met her when I was still playing. We lived in Wichita, and I drove to Oklahoma City a couple times a week for training and games, and she was, super supportive of that. She's been the best. I mean, honestly, I don't know how everybody else is, but she's been the best as far as allowing me to chase the dreams that I have. I mean, even with Rogers, RSU, I was there, for 3 years, pretty much August through December, and then take a break or two for a little bit, and then start with games here at Pryor. But there's recruiting also in there in the summers at ID camps, or maybe in December, January as well. And so super supportive of that. I had to slow down with RSU because our oldest is expecting our first grandchild in June. So I had to tell those guys, like, I got to cut back on this a little bit, So they were super understanding at Rogers, but super supportive. Lisa's been very supportive of me and allowing me to do what I love to do. So I couldn't have asked for anything better.
What was it like to have to make that decision to kind of say, look, I got to give up a little bit of the soccer so I can focus on like some of my family and some of those things? That's always, I know it's difficult for coaches. We get so tunnel vision and so sucked in. You talk about being a competitor. What was that like, kind of going through those discussions of, I think maybe this is the right decision?
Yeah, I just, first grandkid, obviously that's kind of a big deal. And so I didn't see, my goal early on in my life was to be a college coach, and I had applied at a couple of different places when I was in my 20s. And for one reason or another, I didn't get those jobs. Maybe I wasn't qualified, or maybe somebody else was better qualified, type deal. Um, in high school, I felt like that was, because there's, it's a different look every year. Obviously, you don't really get to choose and pick like you do at a collegiate level. But when I talked to Chris Jones, the head coach at RSU, when I went and told him last December that, hey man, this is, it's a lot of time. I'm volunteering. I don't see myself probably, being the paid assistant or that type of deal here. And I want to be able to spend that time with our grandkid, and because I don't know how much time I have, on earth. And so I wanted to be able to spend that time, but Chris was super understanding. He said, man, I get it. I knew as a volunteer, I wasn't going to have you forever. He said, I was trying to get you, money here and there where I could through ID camps or, those kind of things, but he completely understood. And he's still, I only worked with him for a year and a half, but I still consider him, one of my good friends or good mentors. Or, I mean, I learned so much from him I guess about a year, I guess. I still shoot stuff off of him, text him and things like that. I'm still active in trying to get my girls here recruited. And so he understood. I mean, he just had his first baby about a week ago. So his family has now increased. And so, that family, I don't think anything replaces that. I am competitive and I am driven, and you're right. You do get the tunnel vision of, I want more, I want to be better, I want to do that. But, it was just time. It was right. And there's kind of a sense of relief too. Like, okay, now all fall, I can really focus more on my high school girls, because we play in the spring here, but, now I can really focus more on the high school girls in the fall and the off season of, let's get faster. Let's incorporate what some of the people that you've had on the show talk about, and let's get faster and let's get better at our stuff that we do here. So, it's somewhat of a relief sport. Cats. I'm going to go watch games and stuff like that. So know the girls and things like that. But I think for me, I just knew it was time to not do that anymore. So
You mentioned the coach being like a really good friend to bounce ideas off of, a good mentor. What were you? And you said he made an impact on you. What are some of the characteristics of him as a coach that you really, really liked? That you were like, yes, I want to take that back to Pryor.
Oh man, so I was just talking to somebody about this today. Man, when I started coaching, I was running 2.5 hour practices, and because it worked for me as a player, and so I didn't really have much coaching education. I had no licenses, no coursework anywhere, so I was just doing basically how I was coached, and so I was pretty rough my first 11 years. I probably as a player. And so I did ease off, but with Chris at RSU, he's very energetic. He shows his passion every day. He shows the fire every day, but he's also very laid back. Like, hey, I get it. I mean, he's told the girls numerous times, like, hey, I get it. You have a family. If you need to run home, a lot of our girls were from Texas. If you need to run home and take care of something, run home and take care of it. He's like, that's more important right now. We're going to be here when you come back. So he's very laid back with the girls and very understanding of, that we have lives outside soccer.
No, we're good. I'll just and I can edit. That's no problem.
Okay. Yeah. So so I think just that laid back with Chris of, for me, understanding that my girls have a lot, which I don't know that I think I did a good job, but I don't know that I did what I probably should have. That now I kind of understand, like, okay, there's a lot of things going on in their lives as high school kids that sometimes that tunnel vision makes me forget. And so I'm like, okay, you know what? I'll talk to Taylor, my assistant, and I'll say, Taylor, I think tomorrow we're just going to tell them, don't even come here. Don't even worry about soccer for a day. The other day, Friday, so Thursday we were training, and we have a grass field here, and when it's obviously wet, we can't get on it. And so we do have a turf room that we can play about 5v5. And so we were playing Thursday in there, and the girls were just kind of dragging. They didn't seem very energetic. And I think in the past, I would have probably tried to challenge them a little bit more and probably tried to get into them a little bit more. And, you got to pick it up. We got to, there's got to be more intensity or something like that. And I think something from Chris that I learned was like, hey, they're dragging. They don't seem like they want to be here. Let's just let them go home. Let's just end practice. You guys go home and do what you need to do. And so we did. I told Taylor, I said, I think I'm just going to end it. And she said, yeah, I think so. And so I just said, hey, we're done. I said, you guys go home and take care of whatever you need to take care of. And so they left. And then I sent them in the group me that we have. I sent them a message later. I said, look, we weren't mad at you about anything. You guys just seem to be tired. You seem to be dragging a little bit. So we just want to get you out of there. And then Friday when we came back, we didn't even talk about soccer. We played a dodgeball game, and I play with my PE kids. And I probably get in trouble for saying I played dodgeball with my PE kids, but we didn't even talk about soccer. I said wear some tennis shoes, come into the turf room because it was still wet, and I just brought over some dodgeballs and let them run around and throw the balls at each other and have some fun and laugh and not even talk about soccer. And so I think with Chris, I think paying attention to the mental health side a little bit more than I guess I have in the past. But then also bringing that passion, bringing that energy each and every day, which we know about, but I think sometimes we just forget about it, maybe, I guess. So, and I mean, plus the X's and O's. I mean, I learned a ton from him on the X's and O's. I mean, we're running a kind of a slow press now that I watched Chris run with our college girls all fall and saw how it worked, and I'm like, man, that's what I want to do. And so, I mean, X's and O's as well. So.
You talked about like the mental health side of stuff, and the same thing goes for coaches. So when you're not coaching, you're not in soccer and what have you, what are some of the things that you do to kind of like get away and get your stress relief now that you don't have your playing days, in the mix?
Yeah. So, so I tried to be a runner. I don't know that I'm a very good runner, but so once a month or 2 times a month, I try to get into some 5Ks around the area, some different type things there. There's some trails not very far from our house. I'll go run those trails, run a couple miles on the trails. And I took my wife with me the other morning, and I said, man, my mind feels so much clearer after, 3 or 4 miles in the woods, and not even, I mean, you have to think about the terrain. You don't, if you don't think about the terrain, you're going to end up falling on your face. But, there's a lake there. There's obviously a lot of different scenery there. And so that helps me a lot. I get into that. It just helps me think as well. I think process some things that go on. We like to trail ride. We haven't done it much lately, but taking the 4-wheelers out and riding trails for a day or two, rent a cabin or something like that, and just going and riding some trails, finding a mud hole or something like that. Being involved with my daughters is a big deal. Once in a while, I'll help my wife with her jewelry business. She just shows it at different places, and I'll help with that and just hang out there. And just I watch some off-grid shows, I guess, on TV, and I'm building a kind of a home gym workshop at our property now, and so that kind of keeps me busy as well when I have a little free time. Just maybe swinging a hammers, maybe good therapy, maybe, or something like that. But just different things like that. I love to be in the nature, take my kayak out, fish a little bit, those kind of things. Definitely fitness, trying to work out on a regular basis, 6 times a week. I think that's a big thing for relieving a lot of stress as well. So
here you are, 14 years in at Pryor. what is, you mentioned earlier on about possibly, your goal back in the, when you were 20 or so about doing college and all that stuff. Where, if we look forward, do you kind of see, maybe is there a transition at some point where like your oldest maybe takes over the program, or is there any thought about that? Or are you just kind of living in the moment and enjoying coaching with your daughters? Like, what's maybe in the next 5-10 years look like for Coach Kirk?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. I mean, no, I don't, know that we ever know what's in the future. We make plans, but, we also know that, life is like a vapor and it can be gone very quickly. And so I think for me, just living in the moment, I think living with my team here, um, you know, building them up to be the best they can be. I have a really good junior class, trying to get them to the next level. They all want to play, and I think they're all capable. So trying to get them to the next level. Um, the middle school girls are great. I have a number of them that are really good. So, trying to get them to where they can replace these kids when they graduate high school. Yeah, I don't know if Taylor. I think if I stopped, I don't know that she would take over the program. I don't know that she's really gung ho about doing that. I think she just probably likes helping dad, but I don't know that she's wanting to take over. She's an interior architect that works from home, and especially with expecting a kid, I don't know if she was ever thinking, she mentioned that. I don't think. I mean, I don't have any plans to try to get back to a college level. Things, obviously could change, but and right now I'm happy coaching the Pryor girls. I have a great group of kids. Enjoy them every day. The middle school girls coming up are fun to be with. So I say in the next, like you said, 4, 5, 6 years, there's a really good group of kids here that I look forward to seeing, as juniors and seniors, and signing letters of intent to go play college soccer somewhere if that's what they want to do. Yeah, sorry, we're
No,
not
no
the greatest
worries.
Wi-Fi out here, I guess. So um, but yeah, we're in a good area. We live close to her mom and dad, and kind of in the town. We don't live in Pryor. We live in a town called Shoto that's about 10, 15 minutes south of Shoto. My wife went through high school there. And so I think we're pretty satisfied there. Our oldest lives within 15 minutes of us as well. So we're close to the family there. But yeah, I think like you said, just living in the moment and building this program, trying to keep it consistent, trying to keep it at a level that we're competing for state titles, or that kind of deal on a consistent base. Not there yet, but trying to get it there. Trying to leave it better than I found it. So.
That's a great way to end this chat. This is Kieran with Coaches Corner Chats with Kirk Emrine, and I'm out. Peace.